they fall into these schemes. Today we'll be discussing investment. It's going to be a very short interview. We'll get him back here to continue that conversation. But first of all, Uche is going to tell us what he thinks Nigerians should first of all spot as some way of knowing that this can be right, it's too good to be true, and all that. We have Uche Ibe Adotam.
Yeah.
Ibe Adotam.
Thank you.
He's a senior investment analyst, team lead channels, ARM Investment Managers Limited. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Such a delight, I said earlier.
Right.
Once more, I still say
so first of all, why do you think Nigerians are trying so hard, to invest
So to put it in context, there's a vicious circle of lack, want, limited supply of resources, and ability to stay above water. That's what you find continuously, even while trying to chase the dream or keep up with the dream. A lot of people fall scam to a lot of ventures and get rich schemes that are always all available, giving you spurious rates that are unrealistic. You are going to make 30% in 1 month, and you're wondering what are they investing in.
That you would.
And unfortunately, we get drawn to these high numbers without really asking the right questions. What is this thing invested in? Is my fund safe? Are they under regulation? And if these key things are answered, most likely you won't be hit with all these type of problems. I could recall some time some agripreneurs basically set up business, give spurious returns on monthly basis, and even as far as MMM of late.
Yeah.
And then all of them give you put 5,000 to get 15,000 in 3 days.
And you cannot. Oh, 3 days is far. There were several that were given
by the close of business.
By the close of business,
and then interestingly, it happens in the first time, but it's simply robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
And eventually, when they see they have a full basket of funds, they elope. Thin air. Nobody sees them again. What has happened? One, these schemes are not registered. The principles behind them are flawed. It is made from beginning to be a Ponzi scheme, which you are drawn into and get stuck into. Lastly, people just do investments for the fact that they just want to get rich quick, and not because of real objectives. So,
what are the objectives that should drive?
Great.
One?
So, if one is going into investment, there are key things you need to look out for. Your risk profile. If you're not the type that is, if you are the risk averse type or the risk tolerance type, these are two extreme words. For the averse, doesn't want to take risks.
Yeah.
For the tolerant, he's willing to go
getting the shocks of it.
Exactly. So if you're a risk averse person and you go for an investment that requires risk tolerance, most likely you will be hit, because in the first place you are not willing to take risks. So your investment type or assets should be most likely investment that protects or covers your risks, and those type might likely be near cash instruments. On the flip side, a risk tolerant person wouldn't expect much from a risk averse type of product.
Right.
So you need to understand your risk profile, your risk tolerance level. You need to also avoid the mismatch of investment horizons. There are investments that in 1 year it's done. There are investments that takes up to 3, 4, 5 years before that. And so for them that have those longer maturities, it would be a mismatch for someone to come to an investment that has a longer maturity and would want to exit from the first year.
Exactly.
So his opportunities are gone. He will probably come into a loss. So you need to have that in mind. And then, of course, age. Age might likely happen. And in some instances, faith-based investment, your ethical considerations. So these are, for my Muslim brothers, for example, they would want halal investments rather than haram type of investments. So they are not interested in investments in alcohol, pork making, casino, pornography, and the likes of it. And of course, to meet their ethical beliefs, basically. So you need to have all these considerations. And of course, research. It's not a bandwagon effect thing where you have to join people because they are making.
You always must.
For example, we've seen instances where people entered into stock market because they heard someone is making money from the stock market. Not knowing the point they are entering is the point where those people are exiting.
Right.
And then you get stuck there, and then tomorrow you say, I had a bad, I got beaten, my village people have followed me. No. So these factors, or these types of factors, most likely will make you a successful investor if you take the right steps. But where all these things are ignored, of course, this is what happens. A bad investment journey starts, and then an outcome that is unexpected happens.
So what would you say about Nigerians, some Nigerians really, that in spite of the Securities and Exchange Commission's warnings and the CBN, financial regulatory bodies and institutions have been on their cases, don't do this. I hear people say, I know it's a Ponzi scheme, but I know I have opportunities to cash out, you know. Unfortunately, I read a couple of days ago that the Securities and Exchange Commission has also highlighted several that Nigerians are still, in spite of the CBEX, MMM, and everything that people have lost money through, they are still rushing here. What did happen?
No, simple. Greed, gullibility. And of course, also the fact that one wants to make it at all means.
Right.
You see, we see the final picture of things looking good for someone, not seeing the process that goes to that point. So, this one has made it. You just want to rush into that, and then you get sucked up. Gullibility happens. Another thing is poor investment education. There's this poor awareness around it. People don't know when to go into investments and what type of investments align to their kind of persons. So by the time you have some in the business, I found out that we meet people, and by when we start our engagements, and by the time we start dividing everything, setting aside the needs, the wants, the plans, their objectives, basically their profiles, and they just realize that this investment that you came for is not actually what they want.
Okay.
I can give you an example. If you don't want any risks, you should go for near cash instruments like fixed deposits, treasury bills, because they sort of have some form of protection. Right. And then you come and then you want to do stocks.
That is volatile.
That is volatile.
Okay, thank you so much for being part of the program. Like I had said, it was going to be a very short one. Rest assured, we would drag him right here if we have to. If we have to do that,
I'll be back.
we will bring him right back to discuss more. He is a senior investment analyst and team lead channels ARM.
Yes,
Investment Managers Limited, Uche
Yes.
Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you for bringing us over. We are very much available. Basically, to give some sort of context where I'm from, I'm from ARM Investment Managers. We've been in the business for 31 years. And basically touching lives, creating products that align to different objectives. And of course, midwifing the journey of wealth freedom, basically. And so, welcome everybody.
Welcome everybody.
We are very much available to give all the advice and walk you through.
Above everything, you will give us the advice here, but that's it for this segment. We'll be right back. We're going for a very short break. We'll be right back to discuss more. Still stay with us. This is still Aso Morning. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
In the heart of our fields lies the future of agriculture, sustainable, innovative, and powered by smart solutions. From the rich soil of Africa to high-tech farms around the globe, agriculture is evolving to meet the demands of tomorrow. At the intersection of tradition and technology, we discover smarter ways to grow more, waste less, and harvest greener. Together, we are cultivating a future where every harvest sustains the earth and its people. Join us 9:30 a.m. Monday to Fridays on Aso TV, channel 392 DSTV, Star Times, channel 127, or YouTube live stream, GSA Initiative. Agriculture for today and tomorrow, as we share groundbreaking ideas, empowering farmers, and celebrate greener solutions. Together, let's grow the future. Technology will discover smarter ways to grow more, waste less, and harvest greener. Together, we are cultivating a future where every harvest sustains the earth and its people. Join us 9:30 a.m. Monday to Fridays on Aso TV, channel 392 DSTV, Star Times, channel 127, or YouTube live stream GSA Initiative. Agriculture for today and tomorrow, as we share groundbreaking ideas, empowering farmers, and celebrate greener solutions. Together, let's grow the future.
Can you hear me? Welcome to another episode of Agriculture for Today and Tomorrow, where we promote smart solutions for greener harvests. How has your weekend been? Have you had fun? Have you woken up rejuvenated? I hope you're in the office. I hope you're hustling. I hope you're doing something interesting, something in contribution to the betterment of society. Over the weekend, we had the very sad news of the demise of our past president, President Muhammad Buhari, and we want to, as a whole team, condole with Nigeria, condole with the family for the passing of our president. I remain Daniel Black, your host on this show, and this is a Media for Agricultural Development project of GSAI, that is Growth for Sustainable Agriculture Initiative. Yes, in our previous episodes, we have been talking about different aspects of agriculture. We have talking about best practices for livestock farmers in the rainy season, and best practices for even crop farmers in the rainy season. Today, we are going to be talking about something best practices for people at homes. You may not necessarily be called a farmer, but of course you eat, so you need to produce your own food, and this is one of the things we have been advocating for. So today we'll be talking on container gardening, a practical solution for household food security. Can we actually achieve food security in our different households? Is it possible? Today we want to explore the possibilities of using container gardening as a means to achieving food security within our household. But before we dive into that, let us understand exactly what is container gardening. So container gardening is a versatile and accessible way to grow your own food. It is the use of containers, sacks, or different medium that can hold planting components together for the growth of food and other plant life. So yes, this method allows individuals to cultivate a variety of fruits, vegetables, and herbs in containers, to providing a very reliable source of fresh produce for their household. In container gardening, to simplify, to put it in the very simplest forms of conversation, it is the use of containers, and these containers can come in various ways. It can be plastic containers, they can be sacks, can be even any form of container. And of course, recently people have started using tires and anything that can hold together your planting components together to grow crops. And this is very, very essential, because we have people that always say, I would have loved to own a farm, but I don't have space. I have cemented the whole of my compound, so I cannot grow crops. Container gardening comes to solve that problem. Wherever you are, you can actually grow crops, irrespective of the nature of your environment. You can be in a place where the soil is not conducive for planting, you can use container gardening. You can be in a place where the whole place has been, for people living in Abuja, some of us can be living in a place where our whole compound is rocky. We see people building on rocks, and of course you cannot plant on rocks. You can still use container gardening. Of course, you live in a compound where everywhere has been you've used concrete asphalt, concrete flooring on all of them. You can still use container gardening, because no matter the aesthetics, no matter the condition of your house, you still need to eat, you still need to provide food. And we are here saying that container gardening can be a means of food security in your household. So it is important that you know that container gardening has come to be a solution for people in different households to provide at least basic vegetables, basic food items that can be produced. And today, beyond vegetables, we can also produce some very strong food items like yam, like potatoes. In the house, you can also plant carrots, you can plant onions, you can plant vegetables, leafy crops like ugu, like efo, that is the green. You can plant watermelon, you can plant cucumber, you can plant tomatoes, you can plant pepper, radishes, lettuce. All these are things you can actually plant in your house, and then you are beyond even providing food. It also provides a very safe and sure means you are able to tell the source of your food. You are able to tell what is used to prepare the food you're eating, especially these vegetables that have come to form a compulsory part of our daily meal. So container gardening is as important as that, but let's dive a little bit into benefits of container gardening. Number one, it is space saving. It can save you space, because by the time you can have a little space here, and then you can use container gardening to maximize that space. It could be your lobby, it could be a veranda, it could be a small space in your environment. It could even be by the side of your car park, your car parking space. It could be where you do your laundry. It could just be that balcony at the back side of your house, or any place. These are places you could, otherwise you cannot do conventional farming there, but with the use of container gardening you can maximize those spaces to produce any of these foods that we've mentioned. Imagine planting beans in your house, and at the end of your planting season you are able to get up to half a bag of beans, if not more, because you were able to utilize the space in your environment. Of course, you can also plant, like I mentioned, carrot. You can plant efo green. So many people eat green a whole lot, and imagine having an endless supply of green because you've utilized the space in your home. We are also talking about flexibility. Container can be moved to optimize sunlight. So yes, unlike the traditional farm where if something happens, for example, you were farming here and then maybe a tree grows in that place, or even a construction is done, a building is erected close to your farm, and then all of a sudden your farm is blocked from direct sunlight. Container gardenings are mobile, are very flexible. You can move them depending, all of a sudden you want to use here for a different purpose. You can actually move your farm. So container gardening is more like a mobile farm. You can relocate them without harming the crops that you are cultivating. So container gardening comes as a very, very flexible means of farming, mobility and ability to adapt to new environments. And of course, container gardening provides an all year round means of planting, because in the container gardening you are able to control the factors, of course. So you can plant your fruits, all these fruits that we've mentioned, you can plant them all year round. For example, people do not plant beans when the rains are high, because the flowers are very fickle, and a little wind can blow up the flowers, making them unreproductive. But if you do it as a container gardening in your environment, you can control it. You are able to either relocate them and put them where the wind does not affect them so much. So whether in the rainy season or in the dry season, you can plant your beans and have beans all year round using container gardening. It is very important that households begin to consider container gardening as a very important component. It would be very pleasing to see where estates begin to plan their housing units with container gardenings as key components. And you know, some people feel, oh, I don't want to use sacks, I don't want to use plastics, because of course they probably will make my compound dirty. There are now aesthetic containers that you can do. You can paint your gardening, like I remember back in the day when we went to do a container gardening job for a compound, and after using tires, it was looking a bit tacky. We had to get innovative. We brought in an artist, he painted them different colors, and of course the compound became lively, both with the containers, and of course they were cutting up, they were harvesting their ugus, they were harvesting their ginger, they were harvesting their lemongrass, they were harvesting their what do they call it, different crops from that place, and yet it was acting as an aesthetic component in the environment. Of course, pest control is very, very easy with container gardening, because most times they are a bit very small in quantity, and you are able to manage them even with organic components. Fresh produce, of course, when you have container gardening, you are always having endless supply of fresh produce, where you are able to where you're able to just move to your backyard or wherever your containers are and harvest your tomatoes, and you are sure it is fresh. You are sure it has not been refrigerated for so long. You harvest your lettuce, you harvest your ugu or whatever crop you're planting there. You harvest your beans, and you are sure that it has not been subjected to unwholesome storage chemicals. Imagine how beautiful that would be. And then if we have households keying into container gardening and practicing container gardening in that massive quantity, the pressure on even the open market will reduce, and then maybe commercial farmers will now begin to focus on commercialization, on supplying to industries, on supplying to processing plants, right? While households are feeding from the produce they are making in their house. And of course, beyond container gardening, we're also talking about even poultry. Livestock can also be kept in small scales, in cages, in battery cages, not at the commercial quantity. You can have 10 chickens, you can have 10 rabbits, you can have snails in tires, you can have these different livestock, and then of course, because of their size, you are able to manage them, because most people complain, no, when you keep livestock, the odor, it does this and does that. Because of the size, so far as you're keeping for just household consumption, if you're keeping goats, for example, for household consumption, at no time should you have more than 5 goats per time. Should your goats give birth to the smaller ones that are more than the number you should keep, of course you can sell them off and make income. So it is possible to manage container gardening, to manage small scale livestock in a way that it is still aesthetic, in a way that it is still useful to the household. So let me just give us some very quick tips before we call it a day on this on container gardening. Number one, you have to choose the right containers. So yeah, there are some containers that are suitable for gardening, especially looking at the type of crop you want to plant. For crops like yam that require a very large land space, you have to use something a bit large, like a 20-liter container or a cement bag, or in fact a chicken feed bag. You know, a chicken feed bag, that 25 kg bag, that should be the kind of bag you use for your cultivation of yam, so that you give it enough space to expand. And then of course you select suitable crops, of course based on the crop you're using. You did that determines the kind of sack or container you're using to plant. And what you're seeing on your screen, the lettuce can grow at different parts of the container, of the sack that is being used there. So yes, use of quality potting mix. You use quality potting mix. That is the soil that you use to plant. Most times you can use the soil, but that is if you are able to sterilize the soil and ensure that it is of quality, and you do not carry germs, they do not carry any form of diseases. So also make sure you provide adequate sunlight. So wherever you're situating your crops, your gardening, your container gardening, there has to be direct access to sunlight. It's either they have direct access to sunlight, or you can be taking them out to the sunlight, you can be moving them continuously. And then of course water and fertilizer. Some people just plant their crops and then they go off. Container gardening also needs watering and also needs fertilizer supplement, and most times organic fertilizer is enough, because you remember that the soil there is in a controlled quantity, and you do not need to put excessive inorganic fertilizer. So organic fertilizer that can easily decompose and become part of the soil matter will most times suffice for that. So I want to really hope that somebody has gotten an inspiration, somebody has learnt or decided today that they would begin to incorporate container gardening in their environment, in their households, as a means of food security. That is all we'll be taking today on agriculture for today and tomorrow. I remain Daniel Black, your host. Follow us on social media to continue the conversation at GSA Initiative on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube to continue the conversation. See you in the next episode.
In the heart of our fields lies the future of agriculture, sustainable, innovative, and powered by smart solutions. From the rich soil of Africa to high-tech farms around the globe, agriculture is evolving to meet the... In the heart of our fields lies the future of agriculture, sustainable, innovative, and powered by smart solutions. From the rich soil of Africa to high-tech farms around the globe, agriculture is evolving to meet the demands of tomorrow. At the intersection of tradition and technology, we discover smarter ways to grow more, waste less, and harvest greener. Together, we are cultivating a future where every harvest sustains the earth and its people. Join us 9:30 a.m. Monday to Fridays on Aso TV, channel 392 DSTV, Star Times, channel 127, or YouTube live stream GSA Initiative. Agriculture for today and tomorrow, as we share groundbreaking ideas, empowering farmers, and celebrate greenhouse solutions. Together, let's grow the future.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our.
The welfare of millions of people for generations to come may be affected by the wisdom which we here display. If Nigerian leaders and our British partners are to prove themselves worthy of their trust, now is the time for us solemnly and truly to dedicate ourselves to seeking the greatest good of the greatest number of our people in Nigeria. Independence for Nigeria in 1960 is imperative. But independence for Nigeria as a corporate entity is not enough. The peoples of Nigeria must at the same time be guaranteed their freedom. We must ensure that in an independent Nigeria, individual citizens throughout the land enjoy liberty, human dignity, and equality under the law. There must be one Nigeria with one constitution and one law for all. Let us therefore, Mr. Chairman, sir, close our ears to the counsel of despair, which says that we cannot here at this conference agree on a constitution. If there's any doubt among us as to what should be written into the constitution, let us, as Democrats that we profess ourselves to be, refer such problems, as the Gaulle has done recently, to the people whom we profess to represent, either just before or at the federal elections late in 1959.
Our first efforts at democracy and self-government were abruptly arrested in the mid-60s, largely as a result of the incongenial atmosphere engendered by the uncompromising stance adopted by the political parties of the First Republic. Thus, opportunities were lost for our people to interact and learn to accommodate different points of view for the betterment of the country. We must not allow that episode to repeat itself. The new system that we'll have adopted presents us with yet another opportunity to achieve national integration, which is a prerequisite for the building of a strong and virile nation.
Nigeria as a free state in 20th century Africa is the need to revive the stature of man in Africa and restore the dignity of man in the world. Nigerians believe passionately in the fundamental human rights. We regard all races of the human family as equal. Under no circumstance shall we accept the idea that the black race is inferior to any other race. I appeal to all our leaders, far and near, to forget the wounds which were inflicted in cause of our internecine altercations. The love of our country should outweigh the love of our petty selves. The enjoyment of individual freedom under the law should mean more to us than our self-centered party programs and manifestos. Common dangers and common enemies alert us on the need for common security. Come and join Abubakar with me, Sadauna, Awolowo, Akitola, Ofarebe, Okpara, Ikoku, Aminu Kano, Ibrahim Imam and Saka. Let us bind the nation's wound and let us heal the breaches of the past so that in forging our nation, there shall emerge on this continent a hate-free, fear-free, and greed-free people who shall be in the vanguard of a world task force whose assignment is not only to revive the stature of man in Africa, but to restore the dignity of man in the world.